What do you do if your own show got canceled? Simple. Make an episode where you're bashing the network the show aired on and go all out. Hey everyone, this is Rabbit's Animation Bliss, and welcome to another Band Episodes Corner. So today's band episode we talk about today is Bye Beavers from the Angry Beavers. And before I get into my thoughts about this episode, here are a few words from this channel.
Hey guys, if you want to check out more content from this channel, then tune in every Sunday and Monday for new videos. And if you happen to see any videos posted up during the week, that must mean there was a bit of animated news that we wanted to talk about, so those would be considered special videos. And if you want to chat with us on social media or see when new videos are being released, then follow us through Twitter and Facebook. And also, please feel free to join our new Facebook group, Chat with Animation Bliss, where we talk about animation with other animation fans. And now, we return to our regularly scheduled program.
So Bye Beavers was the final episode made for the Angry Beavers, and basically what this episode was all about is that it has Norbert and Daggett realizing that they are cartoon characters and also lamenting about the fact that they were being canceled. And throughout the entire episode, Norbert and Daggett are discovering about the different ways that they are cartoon characters and how they don't really exist, while telling the audience goodbye since they're being canceled and then being reincarnated. And that's pretty much the gist of this whole episode. So Bye Beavers was one of the few episodes of the Angry Beavers that wasn't animated. It was such a controversial episode because it talked about Nickelodeon's rules about rerunning their cartoon shows and saying that the characters were cartoon characters. And because of that, it broke Nickelodeon's main rule, was to not have the characters be aware that they're actually animated characters or fictional characters, and also not to tell the audience that the show is being rerun. So because of that, Nickelodeon ended up canceling the show as a result. So what are my thoughts about this episode? Well, I will admit that when I went into this episode, I thought I wasn't going to like this episode because I looked at this episode as being the reason why the show got canceled in the first place. But when I started watching this episode, or at least watched the audio version of it because this episode was never animated, I actually started to really like this episode, or at least be very interested in what this episode has to say about cartoon characters in general and about what happens to a show if it was being canceled. I like the fact that Norbert and Daggett have become aware that they're cartoon characters, and they're explaining to the audience about how they're able to do these things that they can't do in real life, and about how that if their show got canceled, they could be reincarnated so the network can make money and stuff like that. And I thought that was a pretty bold move for this episode, to be explaining all that to the audience and just say, hey, we're basically cartoon characters, and when we get canceled, we're going to be reincarnated so the network can make money. So that's basically the gist of this whole situation. So yeah, you could tell that the creators of the show were really angry at Nickelodeon for canceling the show, and so they made this episode to kind of get back in the network and explain to the audience, you know, this is what really happens to cartoon shows when they get canceled, and this is what we think of Nickelodeon's policies at the time. So yeah, I have to say that this episode was pretty bold in explaining all that, but I actually found this episode to be pretty entertaining. Like, I thought Norbert and Daggett were in character for the most part, and it was pretty hilarious seeing how they're very aware that they're cartoon characters and then making jokes at this expense despite the fact that they're being canceled. So you have this reassurance of a sense that Norbert and Daggett, while they know they're being canceled, they're actually still acting funny during the whole situation. And I think it's very rare that you have these type of episodes that actually explores about what the networks would do behind the scenes and what would actually happen to a cartoon character when they're being canceled, and also what cartoon characters do in general, that they explain to the kids they're not real, that half of the things they do in the show is not real, they're not real characters, they're fictional characters. And I like the fact that the episode was able to approach that in a straightforward way. And you can tell with this episode that Nick Bakay and Richard Horvitz seem to be ad-libbing their lines throughout the whole thing, because the dialogue in this episode tends to get disjointed at times, and sometimes it's hard to understand what Norbert and Daggett are saying. And then there's times where they're like addressing each other as Nick Bakay and Richard Horvitz. So you can tell this episode gets very weird real fast. And Norbert and Daggett started to realize they're not real characters. So yeah, I did find this episode to be very weird about how it was handled and how the dialogue just got disjointed at this point. Now, regarding some things I didn't like about this episode, I don't think I would want this episode to be the finale of the show, because I feel like that if you're going to have a finale for the Angry Beavers, it should discuss about Norbert's relationship with Tree Flower and Daggett trying to find a purpose in life and whether or not they both got what they wanted at the end. I think that should be a proper finale for the Angry Beavers. Having a final episode where Norbert and Daggett are aware that they're cartoon characters and are actually bashing the network that canceled their show, I just don't think that's a good ending for this series. Like, it doesn't really resolve anything that's going on in the show, even though it's entertaining to listen to Nick Bakay and Richard Horvitz talk about the whole situation. So I will admit, I give the episode props for being entertaining for that. But again, I don't feel like this is a good ending to the show as a whole. But that's just my personal opinion. I know a lot of people think that this is the greatest ending to the series. But for me personally, not really, because I feel like there's other things they could have wrapped up in this show besides just saying that the network did this and the network did that to them. But overall, Bye Bye Beavers was a pretty interesting episode. I actually thought I was going to hate this episode, but I actually liked this episode for how it tackled the issues of cartoon characters and whether or not they're real and how the network handles their shows when they cancel them. So I thought this episode was really interesting in that regards. Do I think it's a good finale for the show? No, I don't think so. I think there could have been a different way to end the show, but for what it was a pretty entertaining episode, and you can find the audio online here. You can actually look in the description box below for the link to the audio if you want to listen to the audio of this episode online. Well, that's my review for Bye Bye Beavers, and tell me in the comments down below, have you seen Bye Bye Beavers? And if you have, did you like the episode? Did you hate the episode? Did you think this was a proper finale for the show? Or do you think that the show could have ended much differently? Please feel free to comment down below. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. This is Rabbit Animation Bliss, and I'll see you guys later.